Good afternoon and welcome. I am so excited about the opportunity we are bringing to you today. I am Marty Hoofer, Digital Content Manager for Keep Indiana Learning, and I have with us Ryan Murray, who is a professional learning specialist here. And Ryan, this program has been going on now, I think, for almost a year, and I can't believe we've never talked about it on our YouTube channel and our various social media platforms. So I am so glad you're here today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Marty. Yeah, it is kind of surprising that it took this long, but now seems like the perfect time to have the conversation because we've got some really exciting stuff coming up this spring and into the summer. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, we are glad you're here. I'm going to let you take it away and we'll chat a little more at the end. If you're watching live on any of the social media platforms, feel free to hop in the chat if you have a question. And even if you can't stick around till the end of the show when Ryan's going to take the questions, feel free to leave the question there and then you can come back later and catch it because this will live on our YouTube channel. So you can catch it now, catch it later, but we would love to have your questions for Ryan. So Ryan, I'll get out of the way and tell us all about tie-in.
All right. Thanks, Marty. So tie-in is a really cool thing that we've been doing for, like Marty said, close to a year now. And I'm excited to share some details about tie-in with you all. But please do put some comments or questions down in your platform because I'm going to go through a bunch here, but undoubtedly there'll be things that I miss or I don't talk about or things that are lingering that I would love to answer. So please do that. Briefly, like Marty said, I'm Ryan Murray. I've been with Keep Indiana Learning and CISC for almost 2 years now. In a variety of capacities, largely working in STEM-related projects, the STEM ecosystem as the regional hub lead for Central Indiana. I've been the STEM specialist and now largely work as a project specialist in a few different areas, mainly tie-in here today, but also a lot of work related to AI and other career connections. So this question right here is one that, as an educator, I heard all the time, and I'm willing to bet any educator working right now hears this a couple times a week because it's important, right? It's what our students want to know. When am I going to use this? Because if I am spending, as a student, if I'm spending my time doing the homework, engaging in class, talking about it, learning, there needs to be a payoff, right? And for some of our students, the test at the end and doing well on the test is good enough of a payoff. But for a lot of students, and I would argue more and more, any more these days, that payoff needs to be long-term, right? The skills that I'm learning now, I need to know when I'm going to use this, because if it's not going to be applicable for a lot of students, they're not going to want to spend the time learning it. So we have to find ways to set these standards in front of our students in ways that make sense to them, that are going to have that payoff. So that question was kind of at the heart of what we sought out to provide teachers with more answers to. We want teachers to have an answer to the question of when am I going to use this in real, practical, applicable ways. And so when we started building out this project, we thought, how do we best do that? So some things that we kind of keep at the heart, this comes from Cornell University, but it talks about motivating students to engage in learning. What are some of the best ways to do that? And you could see a lot of those there. Students are given choices, experience the learning environment as supportive, but there's a few that I want to draw attention to. They see value in course material, learning outcomes, and activities that they can relate to their own lives, right? Make it meaningful. And the course objectives or learning outcomes align with students' interests and goals, whether that's academic, career, or social. Okay, so some things that we kind of hang on to as we look into this project are making sure that we are giving teachers the opportunity to make their lessons more relevant, more useful to their students, and more goal-oriented. So we were approached roughly a year ago by the Department of Ed, and they said, we've got some funding that we want to put towards this idea of connecting industry with education, and not just students being more connected with industry, but how do we connect our teachers with industries? Because that's where we can really make the biggest impact. If we are getting our teachers into industries and making those connections, we take 30 teachers, that impacts 900 students rather than 30 students going in and making these connections. So they came to us and they said, this is kind of what we're thinking. Can you make it happen? We said, absolutely. Hold on. Let's put this together. So there was a team of us at CIESC that got together and put together what we call tie-in. So tie-in stands for Teacher Industry Experiences in Indiana. We are really looking to make these experiences, not just professional development, not just something where you sit and listen for a day and then you take home your notes, but experiences where teachers are getting into these industries and learning. So we have these 3 options here, and I'll go through each of them and kind of highlight the differences and opportunities. What I do want to highlight before I get into each individual option is that all of these come with some sort of a stipend, some sort of a payment to teachers, because you as educators are involved in so many things, whether it's professionally, personally, you've got a lot on your plate. And so adding another thing without any sort of financial reimbursement just didn't make sense. So we provide a stipend for all of these options. I'll try and highlight the specific reimbursement or stipend for each of these, but just know that there is something available in each of them. So the first one is formal coursework. So within the tie-in program, you can register, you can take up to 2 courses, whichever courses you see fit that benefit you in the classroom. So for teachers that are looking for some extra work in classroom management, there's courses out there for that. If you teach welding and you want to take an advanced welding course at like Ivy Tech or a local university, that's an option. Whatever is going to make sense that's going to benefit your students or you professionally long term. We will reimburse up to $600 per course that you take. So that's $1,200 if you take 2 courses, but $600 per course. And then upon passing, there's an additional stipend, and I'm unsure of exactly what that is, but it's a smaller amount just to reimburse some of the extra costs that come with taking a course. The one-on-one externship is the second option. So participants will take part in an externship of 30 to 40 hours with one industry partner. That industry partner is not something that we organize. That is usually done by either the participant, finding a externship location that they want to go to, the school or the district maybe having some partners that they already have externships with that it's already set up and they can just place them. Or sometimes we've worked with workforce boards that have connections and that can do the placement. So the participant would spend that 30 to 40 hours with the industry partner. They would do kind of a deep dive into that industry. So you'll see in the third option, it's a bit different, but this one really focuses on a single industry to learn maybe a little bit more deeply. There is a handbook that comes along with that we will provide that goes through what the participant should expect, but it also has a lot of help for the host industry partner to let them know what are some activities, are some things you should be talking about. There are some guides and other things that you can write on and work right through your externship. And then at the end, you complete a summary project that actually we'll talk about at the end of option 3 because it looks very similar. But this one does come with a stipend as well. If I remember correctly, I believe it's $1,000 stipend. And then there's also something that would go to the host industry partner as well as the organization that does the placement. So everyone kind of benefits from this one. The third one, and certainly our most popular option, is option 3. So this is what we call our immersive industry experience, where participants select from a diverse menu of single-day visits across the state. largely located in central Indiana, but as you'll see in a second, we are starting to partner with different organizations in northern and southern Indiana to provide more options for people located in those areas. So to get into a little bit more of the specifics, these immersive industry experiences are usually 6 to 8 hours in a given day. And these are some of the essential elements that we ask our industry partners to provide. Some sort of an interactive panel where we'll have various employees from the industry partner that have agreed to participate. We encourage a wide range. So we say everyone from the CEO to whoever's cleaning the toilets and everyone in between, right? We want all aspects of people involved in this industry because our students, we don't know where they're going to end up, but we want to show them all of the possibilities that are out there for them. So that part of the panel or that part of the day is always really interesting to have a diverse kind of understanding paths to where people got to where they are, different interests, things like that. We ask for some sort of a hands-on activity. This looks very different depending on where you are, because a hands-on activity could be using a VR headset to do some welding. I know we are getting ready to do that at a visit sometime later this spring. And sometimes it can be watching a stage show at the Palladium, right? So there's lots of different ways we do this hands-on activity. Really, it's just an expression of what that business does is what we want the teachers, we want our educators to see. And the last couple pieces there are a tour. So we get to go behind the scenes. We were at Gainbridge Fieldhouse recently and got to go through, got to go up to the top of the stadium and all the way down to the bottom of the stadium and everywhere in between. The only place they don't let us go there is the locker rooms, and I think that's probably a good thing. But we were at the Palladium recently, the Center for Performing Arts, and got to go on stage, got to go behind the scenes, see all the green rooms and things like that. It was very cool. Lastly is a debriefing discussion, which is usually led by myself or one of the other hosts, depending on the venue. And we just kind of talk about what we learned during the day and how we're going to take it back and share with students, with other educators, everything that we've learned. So this image right here is from the fall. So all of these participants were places that we went to in the fall, and there were more than this, but I wanted to show that and then show our spring. Okay, so this isn't done yet either. This has these are all just the 100% confirmed destinations. There are still many more that we're talking about and scheduling for the summer. Recently announced that we're going to be having summer opportunities. So for the educators that just can't get a day off to participate, we totally understand. So all of we have, I think, actually I can show you here in a second, but I think we have maybe 6 or 7 summer experiences ready to go right now, and we're adding I want to say another 6 or 7 throughout June and July and into August. So a lot of opportunities there. You'll see some repeats from the fall, some brand new ones. I'll highlight Wigan Construction. That's up in Fort Wayne. So again, going up north as best we can. Henry County REMC is out east. And then we have Mr. P Express, a shipping and logistics company down south. So we're really trying to spread out as best we can and offering as wide array of experiences as possible. I know I can probably say comfortably that the Indiana Fever will be another destination that we have this summer. We have a great relationship with them over at Gainbridge, so I'm sure that will happen. A lot of cool things and a lot of really interesting experiences. The best thing I do want to highlight about these places is, I'll say the Indiana Pacers, since I was talking about the Fever. For our students that are interested in sports, or the Indianapolis Zoo, our students that are interested in animals, or the NCAA with sports, right? They have these focuses, these hobbies that they really want to do. I really want to be an athlete. I really want to work with animals, whatever it might be that, there's not so it's kind of a myopic view of what that industry looks like. Okay, I have to be an athlete or I have to be a veterinarian. But then you go to these spaces and you see these careers that are still within those fields that our students love, but there's way more opportunity. And if we start to open those doors for our students and show them what's out there, we can have some really interesting conversations with our students. Here's an example of what you might see when you register and get your paperwork in. This is our menu that we provide to registrants so they can look through, see when the dates are that we're going to be going to these different locations, see what or where it is. And this one is actually a little bit older because now all the tour partners have a hyperlink so you can go check out their website, see what they're about, because some of them you may not have heard of. On the right there, the tour event contact, I do want to highlight that one as well because we are very fortunate to partner with other organizations that help us put on these days. So a couple to highlight would be Employee Indy. So we've worked with them in the fall. We're working with them again this spring to put on events in Indianapolis. You can see a couple of theirs on the screen right now. We're also working with Wabash Valley ESC, East Central ESC. Really, all of the educational service centers are going to be providing opportunities for their regions to get involved in tie-in. And then the last thing I want to highlight is really exciting. We recently announced a partnership with Invest Hamilton County to do regional tie-in events. So that's really the first one, and I'm expecting many, many more to come from it. What we are looking to do is build these regional tie-in events where it is, so for the Hamilton County one, it is Hamilton County Educators, Hamilton County Industries, and it is a more brief experience. So we're targeting to do the Hamilton County events over a week or two. So you get it done, you get all your events in, you meet educators from your area, make those connections, really intentional, focused kind of stuff. We have been talking with a few other organizations about bringing that same thing to other counties. So keep your eyes open for that one. We're very excited. So that's what you'll kind of see when you get to that point. Some photos from experiences last fall. You see the Indiana State Police there on the left. That was a really exciting day. They, and I'll actually say all of the industries that we've partnered with really take this seriously. The Indiana State Police, they put stations together. We rotated through stations. We met with the SWAT team. We met with forensic scientists. We met with a crash scene investigators, and really just got a big picture of what goes on at the Indiana State Police. You have WTHR there. We got to stand behind the cameras while they shot the noon news. What you were seeing on TV, we were seeing live. That was very cool. The zoo there, we're petting rhinos and talking to the people that take care of the animals. And then there at Gamebridge Fieldhouse down on the court. So we get some really neat experiences that kind of light a fire a little bit to get educators excited to share these things back with their students. Not your typical professional development, I would say. Two last things about options 2 and 3 is we provide a community of practice. So the community of practice, we're going to have our first meeting April 16th. So next Wednesday, once everybody's back from spring break, we'll meet for about an hour. And these are optional virtual meetings where myself or one of the other specialists from Keep Indiana Learning will be kind of leading this discussion of big picture. What are you seeing out at the events you're going to? How are you using it in your classroom? What questions do you have? All of these things kind of building towards our summary project. So the community of practice will meet once in April, once in May, and then twice in June, twice in July. And again, optional. We do highly recommend you come to them because it's, again, building that network. I will say from the fall, we had several people finish entirely their tie-in experience, and they're still keeping in contact with each other. They're still keeping in contact with the industry partners. So this is more than just do your experiences, get your stipend, and be done. It's really do your experiences, get your stipend, because that's important, but then also be a part of something that's going to continue on and provide support for whatever your role is going forward. The summary project, as I've alluded to a couple times, is for options 2 and 3. It's a project that shows what you learned. And I don't want to overcomplicate it a whole lot more than that, other to say we've had some really awesome submissions. Some of the things that people do get really creative. Some are very straightforward, but nonetheless beneficial. So I'm not going to show any examples today. Usually that's something we do in our community of practice or some events to kind of get those creative juices flowing. But I will say, it's something that is meaningful not only to the educator but to the students that they serve. So usually there's some like lesson plan of some sort. If you're not a teacher, because this program is available to counselors, work-based learning coaches, administrators, as long as you're working in a school, you can participate. But you could see some of the examples of what we've asked our participants to do. So blog post, a lot of people created videos, because a lot of these educators that participated in the fall went and did a professional development session, a 45-minute session back at their schools or back at their districts. And so they recorded themselves doing that and submitted that as their project. Podcast episodes, we had a couple of those that were really creative. A lot of people created websites full of resources that they shared with their teachers and administrators back at their schools. So many different options, but it's upon passing or getting a passing grade on the summary project that you get your stipend. So I'll tell you, I'm the one that scores them, and I haven't seen anything that hasn't passed quite yet. So really good work coming in. So this is what we hope our educators that participate have been able to use when they're done. They connect with these local industries and organizations. And I'm going to show you an example in a minute of how that has looked post participating in the program. Gaining information that helps students identify careers and industries that interest them. Because if we're being honest, most students, the careers that they're thinking about are the ones that their parents are in, or their neighbors or other family members, or they're the ones they see on TV. Or it's being an influencer, right? Everyone wants to be an influencer. So being able to say, here's all these options, right? It's not just a doctor, a lawyer, a police officer, what your parents do, what's on TV. There's all of these other options. One of my favorite ones is when we were at the Pacers, we got to talk to the person that designs the timeout activities. And that just sounds like a lot of fun, right? But there are so many things. The lights that go on at the Palladium when they're doing a show, there's somebody that designs all that. So sharing that with students is awesome. And then lastly, creating lessons that identify and develop the soft skills that we hear about all the time. It comes up at every single event that we go to, and it makes sense. But they talk about the soft skills, the communication. How do they take feedback? Work ethic. Are they getting to work on time? Are they able to write an email that makes sense? So going through all of those skills, how do we work that into our lessons? Again, we want students to know when they're going to use it. So here's an example of one of the connections that's been really cool. This is from a teacher in Plainfield. This is Sergio. He is the Global Center for Invertebrate Conservation Coordinator. And his job is all about spiders. Travels the world, learning about different types of spiders, making sure that there are the proper habitats for different species of spiders to exist. That is his job. And so he spoke when we went to the Indianapolis Zoo, because that's where his home base is. He, like I said, travels the world, but the Indianapolis Zoo is home base for him. And so we had a third grade teacher from Plainfield that was participating in had done a spider lesson year after year. And she made this connection, said, you see the light bulb go off in that visit at the zoo, and got in touch with Sergio and said, will you please come and talk to my students about what you do with spiders? Because they're going to do this spider lesson, and it would be incredible for you to come share your experiences. And so, Sergio, of course, he said, yes, I would love to. People want to help. They want to help and get into the schools and work with kids. So Sergio gladly did it, had a great experience. You can see some of the students there. I love this little girl in the front here that's just kind of staring at him, wondering if he has any spiders in his pockets that he's going to bring out. But really, really cool experience. Last thing I want to share, these are some testimonials that we got from participants in the fall. And I've highlighted a couple things in each of them. Exploring career interests, developing strong soft skills, and learning how to network, aligning the learning with real world applications. We talk about it all the time, but unfortunately, a lot of the times it ends up just being our students' names we put into the word problems. That's not really a real world application, but that's because we spend time in our classroom, right? The real world for us is our classroom. So opening that up is important. And then my favorite one, of course, is there at the bottom. It's the most valuable professional development I've ever done. And that is from a 20+ year educator, now working as an administrator. So really impactful stuff. So this is a link that you can get to the tie-in website to register. I will tell you, if you go there, kinl.cc/tie-in, you can register without any sort of tie to do anything. It's just to say, hey, I'm interested. Can you tell me more? Can we talk about this? And then we can go from there. There's no commitment just by registering there.
Oh, Ryan, oh my goodness, so much good stuff. So I think I want to hit on again something you just said, though. Going to that website and plopping your name and email address in there is no commitment. It's, I want to know more about this. And so I just want to reiterate that for our viewers. You can also get to the tie-in site from the Keep Indiana Learning site. It's right there on our upcoming events page. Ryan, we didn't have any questions come in from our viewers. However, we have picked up viewers constantly through the stream. So if you have just joined and you have a question, feel free to use the platform that you're watching on, whatever their comment section is, and leave us a question, and I'll facilitate those for Ryan. But Ryan, I have a couple questions. So the first one, though, you mentioned it's for all positions in the school. So from superintendent to IA, it's for everyone. My question is, what grade levels?
So great question. And just to clarify a couple things. So you do have to have a license. So IAs and paras are more than welcome as long as they hold a teaching license.
Okay.
But K-12, I mean, it really is. We had kindergarten educators that got quite a bit out of it. I would say we largely skew secondary in who's registering because it has traditionally made the most sense. But I want to specifically push on elementary to register, because I think that's the biggest opportunity to really play some seeds of here's what you could be. Because if we're being honest, by the time our students get to high school, a lot of those decisions have been made, and may not for the rest of their life, right? But for those next set of years, they've kind of started to say, all right, this is my plan. I'm going to go to college here. I'm going to do this, blah, 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 blah. But if we say K5, K6, like, here's what you could do, man, it's just there's so many opportunities.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for clarifying both of those things. Okay. So I had a couple other random questions. I was looking at the list of the upcoming ones, and I saw Mr. P Express. So while you were talking, I went and Googled it because I'm like, what is Mr. P? Oh my goodness. So it's a trucking school, southeastern Indiana. And what struck me as I looked at their website was the need for collision repair for semi-trucks. Had never, I mean, how many semi-trucks do I see on a regular basis that I had never considered? They need special people to fix them, like body work on them.
Yeah.
I had never considered that. So I love it that the opportunities that are presented in this are broad, but even I, as a middle school writing teacher, something tells me there's some writing that goes on at Mr. P Express.
Absolutely. And that's, there are so many things that we hear on our visits that you can see. I usually stand in the back, right, when we're doing our panel, but I see this like, oh, go. These like realizations happen. They're like, oh, I do this lesson on persuasive writing. Why don't I tie this into it and make this happen? And there are so many connections that we work really hard as educators to make. And there's so many things that we could be doing locally to make real world lessons and build these applications for our students. But it's hard because making the connections takes time. And so that's what we're looking to help with is let's make that bridge between our educators and industry a little bit shorter, so we can make these connections happen easier.
Absolutely. And I love that idea about that, making connections. And that's where tie-in, just its name even implies that who knew this world leader in spiders lived just down the road from this third grade class. And here you've made this connection that could have made such a difference in a kid's life.
Yeah. And, you said that and it reminded me of another one. At Newfields, we have one of 3 art science labs in the country where they have all this equipment to check on like the dates. They can look through artwork to see if there were changes made. They can see like originals. They can see what the paint was made. I mean, it's incredible. But again, like you said, how I didn't know that until I went on these experiences. And the nice thing about this community of practice is we get to share those kind of things because, right, we can only take 20, 25 people to each of these places. So, sometimes people are disappointed. They say, I really wanted to go to that one. But what happens in the community of practice is all of that information gets shared. These connections that, someone else made, you still benefit from. So that's why we encourage people to come to those and reap those benefits.
Well, I love that. My last question. Oh, wait, you have a question online. So let me look at that first. Is this an opportunity for homeschooling parents? And what about homeschooling parents that have a teacher license? Let's combo that a little bit. So talk to us about the homeschooling crowd.
Yes. So it is an opportunity for homeschool teachers that have they have an Indiana teaching license of some sort. I will say also those that have a JAG license or are on an emergency teaching license all count. So yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you for answering that question. And thank you to the person who asked. I had not thought about that. My last question, we'll see if another one pops in as I ask my last question. The project that you do at the end of option 2 or 3, obviously option 1, you're doing whatever the coursework is, taking a final, writing a project, doing a paper, whatever. But if you're doing option 2 or 3, you have this project. I know what you're going to say, but say it again. People should not be intimidated by that, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's something that largely, I would say, naturally will happen as you do these events, right? You'll gain information, the notes that I see people taking are immense. There's all this stuff that you have up here. And so I think as educators, naturally, we want to put it somewhere, right? And organize it and make it useful. And so as you're doing that, you're building your project. The other thing I'll add too is that if you participate with somebody else that that maybe works in your school or your district, you want to do this together, we do allow for multiple people to work together on a project, as long as there's clear identification of Marty did this, this, and this, and Ryan did this, this, and this. Share that with us just so we know it's not one person doing everything.
Love it. Love it. Love it. If only group projects would have been like that as I was a student. Right. Would have been nice. Yeah, I love that. All right. Well, Ryan, is there anything else you want to share as we wrap up here today?
I'll just say thank you. And I guess the last thing I'll say is we do need registrants to sign up by June 1st. So if you are thinking about it and considering it, like I said, go ahead and do the registration so you're in. You can do whatever you need to after that, but we need signups by June 1st. And for any industry partners that happen to be watching, or if you are watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever it might be, and you say, hey, I would love to host a group of educators, please reach out to me. my email's probably all over everything on that website that you see there. And just let me know, and we'd be happy to talk through it.
Okay, so just to clarify what you just said, they need to have completed this registration process by June 1st.
Correct. Now the events will go through June, July, even into August, but we have been asked to have registration complete by June 1st.
Perfect. All right. Well, Ryan, thank you for your time today. So much good info. And I was able to go on a tie-in event a couple weeks ago, and it was a day very well spent. Wow. And so to provide this opportunity for Indiana educators is just amazing. So thank you for all you do to make that happen. And you can find the tie-in website right there on our screen. You can also go to keepindianalearning.org and get there that way as well. So thank you so much for your time today, Ryan.
Thanks, Marty. Appreciate it.